We're at the Warsaw Security Forum, and there was a pretty dramatic message from Poland's Prime Minister at the opening ceremony. Donald Tusk said, "This war is also our war," referring, of course, there to Russia's war against Ukraine. That is very much the vibe here with all of these incursions that have been going on against Poland and other countries here in the region by Russian drones, by Russian fighter jets. Well, we're joined here by Marcin, Bosacki, the Secretary of State in the Polish Foreign Ministry, to talk about this. Thank you very much for joining us. Let's talk first of all about this dramatic quote from Donald Tusk. "This war is also our war." What did he mean? Is Poland also again in a war, a state of war against Russia?
I think Prime Minister Tusk's message was twofold. One, to international audience, to our partners and allies, who sometimes, after 3.5 years of full-scale war, and after 3.5 years of dramatic, heroic Ukrainian defense, sometimes feel a war fatigue. That nothing changed since February 2022, and Ukraine is fighting not only for its own independence and freedom, but also as recent Russia's provocations against Poland, against Estonia, against Denmark show that actually Putin is in the fight against the West. And that was Tusk's message number one. But number two was again what was to the domestic audience. We also feel this war or Ukraine fatigue, and the support for Ukraine is declining, unfortunately, and anti-Ukrainian mood is on the rise. It's not dramatic, but it is on the rise. So Prime Minister Tusk reminded everybody that yes, strategically speaking, not only morally speaking, this is our war.
But I mean, doesn't he kind of play into a Russian narrative there? I mean, if we look at Sergei Lavrov, the Russian foreign minister, just the other day, he said that NATO and the European Union want to declare, in fact, already have declared a real war on my country. By saying what he said, Donald Tusk, isn't he playing into that narrative?
On the contrary. We, you, the media, everybody, we politicians cannot fall into Lavrov's trap, which is traditional Russia's trap. They are attacking other countries, saying that they were provoked. They were saying that in both 2014 and 2022 in Ukraine, they were saying that in 2008 in Georgia, they were saying that in 56 in Hungary, or 39 when they joined Hitler against Poland. We cannot be blackmailed by Russia's propaganda, and Lavrov is the best example of that. He, of course, knows that this is his country, Russia, which attacked twice Ukraine and wanted to capture its capital, and the West, or most of the West, is helping Ukraine in a defense war, which is both legal by international legal standards and norms, and which is just, because you need to defend international borders, you need to defend international order, and you need to help the weaker side against colonial superpower, which is Russia.
So, but there certainly is a form of hybrid conflict going on between Europe and NATO and Russia, and certainly we see that coming from the Russian side in the form recently of these kinds of incursions into Estonian airspace, into Polish airspace, and so on. There's a lot of debate about what Putin is trying to do there. There's agreement that it is sort of probing, trying to test NATO's responses. There's talk of trying to deter Putin from doing that. Are you considering the possibility that Putin actually wants to create a crisis here? So we've had Dmitry Medvedev, one of his other propagandists, has been out there today saying that, warning that a conflict could escalate into the use of weapons of mass destruction over a potential accident with, say, a Russian fighter jet being shot down. Poland has warned that it reserves the right to shoot down Russian planes. Are you considering the possibility Russia wants that to happen? It wants you to shoot down a plane?
We analyzed in detail what Russia wanted to achieve on this September 9th, 10th night attack of more than 20 drones into our airspace. And we came into conclusion that it was two goals. One, Moscow's goal was to test both Polish and allied NATO response, to measure it in real time, to see what we will do, how fast we will do, how coordinated we would be. But second, maybe even more important goal is to help Putin and Russia's army to win this war. What I mean by that is the front is barely moving. It is moving in favor of Russia, but it is barely moving. And Russia and its leadership knows that to move the stakes and to help the condition on the front, they need to stop supplies, help, and assistance from the West.
And will Poland ever stop providing that logistical support to Ukraine?
I'm pretty much convinced we will not, and I'm pretty much convinced that neither will Germany or Britain or France or the United States, although the forms of the United States help are changing. But I think this is what Putin hopes for.
Do you think you can count on Donald Trump? I mean, he famously tweeted, "Here we go," when that incursion took place. Can Poland rely on him?
I pretty much believe that what he said in the White House a month ago when he received Polish newly elected president and welcoming him, he said, maybe we will reduce our troops in Europe, but for sure not in Poland, and maybe even US will increase the number of American troops in Poland. I think he meant that. I think his connection to Poland for different reasons is quite deep and could be trusted. But at the same time, I wish president of the biggest democracy of the West could deliver more constant and clear messages vis-à-vis Russo-Ukraine conflict, because when he even touches shades of changing his position, then I know that for a fact, because I'm traveling there quite often, that the mood in Ukraine is changing, and even more importantly, Putin is counting on reducing not only US but the whole West's assistance to Ukraine.
And to me, the motto of this conference this week is "Divided we fall." Yeah, do you see that motto as partly aimed at the US?
I think Putin is aiming at that, but I think he's falling. And I think he's failing because he thought Alaska was everything. In President Trump's terms, Alaska was only the beginning. And Putin didn't deliver in 6 weeks already, in a month and a half. Nothing more than this meeting. He didn't agree on ceasefire. He didn't agree to start direct talks with Zelensky. He didn't agree to extend talks with American side. I think Putin actually, in his goal to divide US and Europe, is in worse shape than he was before Alaska.
I also want to talk about Poland's internal unity, because, I mean, it's no secret that Poland currently has a president and a government from opposite ends of the political spectrum. The Polish president has been vetoing a lot of laws. It's in fact widely believed that he would like to see your government fall. What are the security implications of this, of having such a divided constitutional system here in Poland right now?
That's true. We have neither US or French model of president who is in charge of executive power, nor the German or Kingdom of the United Kingdom's model, that the head of state, so president or king or queen, is only that and doesn't have any power in executive branch. Polish model is different and is, as you said, difficult. But I'm pretty much sure that in terms of foreign policy, especially in those security most important dimensions, we can work together, and so far the new president's visits, would that be in Washington or in the Baltic states, or even in France and Germany, with some exceptions in bilateral issues, but in terms of overall Polish and European security, we so far cooperate well, and we hope it will stay.
Do you trust him, President Nawrocki?
Obviously I voted for his opponent, Mr. Trzaskowski, but now I'm in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, being tasked to cooperate with the Polish president, which people elected. And I do expect from another side, so from the presidential palace, the same. So they will, and President himself will cooperate with the government, who is constitutionally responsible for both domestic and foreign policy.
And to countries on the outside, to Poland's allies, watching what's going on in Poland and thinking these guys are just fighting amongst each other, what's your message?
That we are actually very much divided in terms of internal policy, but we do our best, and I think we are succeeding so far in having one message and one policy in the most important foreign policy and strategic issues.
Marcin, Bosacki, thank you very much for speaking to DW.
Thank you.